Tam Talks explores life, spirituality, and general weirdness through quirky storytelling and laughter, lighting you up in your life journey. Let's go! Welcome back to another episode of Tam Talks. Tamiah here, and I'm going to talk about, this was like a super cool thought process that I had. And I was actually working with a Reiki client when it came through. And so, as one of our symbols, so if you are a Reiki practitioner, you will know what I'm talking about. You may know what I'm talking about even if you aren't, but we basically work with symbols that open up our channels, our levels of, I don't even want to say consciousness, but just levels of maybe energy, levels of connection, and the ability to let Reiki flow through us to our clients to help to wherever we're directing. So there's like a power symbol, there's a mental and emotional symbol, and then there is the distance symbol. So as I was trained, we were trained in the Usui method. And as I was trained, we use all three symbols for every single client because we never know, like you never know what you're going to run into. Someone may come to you and be like, okay, I'm having a really tough time mental health wise. And so one would logically think, oh, okay, we're going to use this one symbol because it's the mental emotional symbol. So as we all know, sometimes what we think we need is not actually what we need. So things shift and change. And also during sessions, maybe additional things come up that need to be addressed. So when we use all three symbols, you're basically covered. It's just like insurance. You're just covered. So I had this epiphany a couple weeks ago, and I was thinking about the distance symbol. So the point of the distance symbol is that if you're working with a client, we sometimes have, like, I know I have visions of them, not all, but I have had visions of people in a past life, in another lifetime, whether it's past, future, alternate, whatever it is. And you know it's them, even though it physically may not look the same, but you know that it's a different lifetime. It is their soul on some level. And so sometimes when you're working with your client, you may actually be working on something from another one of their lifetimes, whatever it may be. And I think that's fascinating. We can also, like, the symbol is also used for, like, say I have a client who's in Australia. They really want to have a Reiki session with me, but they're not going to fly to Canada for their Reiki session. So I can do it distance. I can do it through proxy. I can set up pillows in the shape of a human form, or I can use my famous teddy bear, Barry, and I can basically, they're at their place and they lay still. We speak before and after the session, but through this bear, through proxy, they receive Reiki, no matter where they are on the planet. So it works kind of in several ways. This distance symbol is like through time, through space. It doesn't matter. So, anyway, so I had this thought because I had this client, and I had this epiphany. So when you think about medical miracles or even like spontaneous healing, so I thought, holy crap, it just clicked. So let's picture something back. Okay, picture like the early 1900s. There's, this child who is, no, let's go older than that. There's like an older person who's in their 80s or something, and they've fallen and they've done something to their leg and they don't know, but it's the early 1900s, and so it's basically a death sentence because there isn't that modern medicine, quote unquote, that can fix them. So, back in the early 1900s, they're like laying on the road and they're dying. and there's someone with them, and they're just like, I'll just stay with you. And then all of a sudden the person's like, oh, the pain is gone and I actually feel better. I'm going to keep walking. I'm okay. And that would be like a spontaneous healing, a miracle. It would, someone's just like, whoa. And the person's like, that's amazing. Like, I guess you just weren't hurt as badly as you thought. And they try to kind of justify. So that soul of that elderly being, let's just take that soul forward into another lifetime. So now that soul is like, I don't know, this person, this female in 2025, and they go for a Reiki or energy session with someone. And they come in and they've just broken up with their boyfriend, and they're like, oh, I'm really sad, and whatever. So they're getting their Reiki session. Well, the Reiki practitioner is like, whoa, like I'm feeling stuff on their right leg. Like I'm just gonna spend some time, so a little bit of extra time, because we weigh heavily on our intuition when doing energy work, right? Like you just kind of listen and you roll with it. You spend extra time, maybe you come back to some area because there's something. So this young woman's at her Reiki session, and practitioner's like, okay, I'm just going to spend some extra time on your leg. And anyway, so my thought was, holy crap, imagine. So in 2025, say my client, I'm working on their leg, and I feel like, oh, okay, I've done it. It's cleared. That feels much better. Awesome. I continue on. Okay, link that to that soul back in the early 1900s, who was like this older person with this leg, should have died. But at that exact moment, because there is no linear time outside of, we make it here on earth, right? So there's no time. So that could actually be something. Can you imagine at the exact moment? So whatever was picked up, like this leg pain or whatever, that future quote unquote version of them happened to go for this energy session, that practitioner picked up on that pain and spent some moments, and that explains that miraculous healing. Oh my god, mind blown. For some reason, that came through when I was doing, because something similar to that happened. I had a vision and then that clicked. And I'm like, okay, that totally explains. Can you imagine? That explains spontaneous healing. And think about people who have like these visions and out of body experiences, and we can do past life regressions to figure out, like I've done some research too on my own, like through meditation and over the years, and just matching things together that um makes sense because of, like, I think of, not, I'll simplify it, but I think of things like, I just love trees. I always hug trees. I love trees. I'm ridiculous. I hug trees all the time. And I did a past life regression, I don't know, many years ago. And in that specific lifetime that I experienced that one session, I was a lumberjack. So I spent an entire lifetime cutting down trees. And I'm like, huh. So when you think of that like a karmic level, now it's like, oh, well, I love trees because I hacked down so many of them. So it's almost like, okay, I'm very sorry. I'm so sorry for what I did. So it's kind of similar to that. I did another past life regression with someone else. And I was like this lone man living in these Arctic conditions. I had a dog sled team, literally lived in an igloo. But then I had this vision, like during the regression, I had an interaction. So basically, I was like this intermediary between, there was like an indigenous tribe and like settlers, like white people. And I was basically like this peace point. Anyways, when I looked at that and I thought, okay, simplifying again, I absolutely despise cold weather. I love being with people. I do love my dog. I love animals. I'm always with animals. And I'm thinking, of course, I lived by myself. I was freezing. And also, I'm a Libra. I love peace and fairness and harmony. I have no tolerance for racism and war and just stupidity. And I thought, whoa, like click those little connections together. So anyways, I just thought that was like a super cool puzzle piece that clicked for me and wanted to share it. So yeah, there you go. Do whatever you want with that. Just more of my crazy thoughts. I swear I was probably a philosopher in a past life as well. When I get into talks with people, I'm like, I could just sit here and we could just talk about anything and everything. So look out, podcast. All right, enjoy your day, night, whatever it is, wherever you are, and peace out. Thanks for hanging out and listening to my wild and wacky Tam Talks. Follow Tam Talks to be notified of new episodes. Peace out.